Hey guys, it's Pastor Lucas and Dr. Esther Fairchild back again to talk to y'all about our Bible Studies for Life curriculum. This is going to be for Sunday, January the 19th.
Yes.
2020. We are already into the 2020s. It's so crazy to think that. And this is going to be covering, we're talking today about the book of Exodus. We're continuing talking about the book of Exodus. We've missed out on talking with you guys for the last couple of weeks because of just odd and stuff, crazy things going on at the end of the year, but we're happy to be back. Today, we're going to be looking specifically at Exodus 16. As always, we really encourage you guys to take a look at the scripture beforehand, not just what's in the book, so that you've got a really good frame of reference. Our unit verse for this unit is Psalms 145:4, which says, "One generation will declare your works to the next and will proclaim your mighty acts." And that's Psalm 145:4 in the CSB. Our weekly verse is Psalm 78:24, and you'll notice that that actually comes on the little piece of paper, the take-home sheet that we'll be talking about at the end of this video. And it's what kicks off the week for our students to read scripture at home with their families. Esther, when we start our Sunday school, we've got three main points that we're looking at in this story. One is that God loves us. The second is that He knows what we need, and the third, and I love the way this, we were talking about this beforehand, that you said is that we need to rely on Him, to trust Him for enough, where enough is kind of what God determines is enough for us, because sometimes we don't think that that's always the same thing.
Right. That whole my eyes are bigger than my stomach syndrome.
Yeah.
And actually that is a perfect reference for this week, because we'll be teaching the kids about how the Lord provided enough manna and quail for each day for them. And then on Saturday, He gave them, or on the day before their Sabbath, I guess their equivalent of Friday, He gave them 2 days worth so that they could have time to rest. And I just love God, the way He knows exactly what my daily portion should be of anything, whether it's food or stress or exercise or whatever. If I get too much or too little, then I'm probably in trouble.
Oh, there you go. So we always sandwich our Sunday school hour in between our two services. So we've got an 8:30 service, a 9:45 Sunday school, and an 11 o'clock service. But per our usual MO, Esther, why don't you tell us what happens in our Sunday school this week?
Yeah, okay. So we always like to start off Sunday school with a game. So our thinking for that is that this helps the kids kind of separate church from every other part of their week. This is a place where, regardless of if they're having a good day or a terrible day, we love them, and we want this to be a fun and enriching time. So we like to start with a game, and so I present to you, Pastor Lucas, the straw game.
The straw game.
That's what it is. So I'm going to let you choose your weapon.
These are pieces of tissue.
That's what they are.
Okay, I'm going to go with the slightly more teal-y straw.
Excellent choice.
Is there like a strategy to whether I should stretch this out?
I don't know.
Okay, cool.
There could be. I've never played this game.
Okay, cool.
So what we're going to do is each child will be provided with a straw, and they will get to tear up some tissue paper and toss it around the room. And then it's a race. We're going to have 2 bowls and 2 teams of kids, and they are going to go around in a measured, specified amount of time, and try to use their own suction to gather up the tissue pieces and exactly deposit them into their bowl.
Wow.
Okay, so ready?
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's so dirty. Essentially, that's it. And if the kids... There's no way to phrase this that just... Don't let the kids cheat. That's what we're going to say. Just don't let the kids cheat.
It's a great game, and I won. So then next we're going to go to story time. And obviously, we might need to play that game lots of times. If we have people who are sore losers, especially.
Yeah, keep the commentary to a minimum.
Yes, just potentially don't say any words, except great job.
Just watch it happen.
Great job. So then once we have the kids' attention, we are going to circle them up for story time. Don't look. So the story, we always have a picture on the front, and the exact words of the story are here, and you've got some review questions there. So let me read this to you. God provided for the people. The Israelite people had been away from Egypt for only a few weeks. It was the 15th day of their second month. Instead of remembering how God had cared for them, they complained about how hungry they were. We're never like that, huh?
I'm personally am not ever.
In Egypt, we had all the bread and meat we wanted, said the former slaves. Instead, you brought us out here in the wilderness where we will die of hunger. God told Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven. The people will gather bread every day, but they must follow my instructions. Moses and Aaron told the people, God has heard your complaining. He will give you meat to eat this evening and all the bread you want in the morning. Then you will know that he is your God. Sure enough, that evening, quail came and covered the camp. In the I can just picture God like, here you go.
Just like hurling quail at the ground.
You would never, but Esther might. In the morning, a heavy coat of dew covered the camp. When the dew was gone, fine flakes covered the ground like frost. The Israelites asked each other, what is it? Which in fact is what the word manna means.
Oh.
What is it?
Wow.
Yeah. Moses answered, this is the bread God has given you to eat. You may gather 2 quarts for every person in your tent. Everyone had exactly enough to eat. Moses warned, don't leave any until morning. When the people stored more than they needed, the bread spoiled with worms and smelled bad. On the 6th day, the people gathered twice as much to have enough for the Sabbath day. Their Sabbath day supplies stayed fresh so that the people could rest on the 7th day. The people named the bread flakes manna. It tastes like wafers with honey. God provided manna to the people for 40 years until they came to live in their own land.
Wow. There are 2 things about that story that I really, really enjoy. One is that everybody had enough to eat with only 2 quarts of it. So in my mind, I'm looking at that, like when you look at the New Testament, you have Jesus feeding people with, just a couple of loaves of bread and a few fish. I'm wondering if the manna just didn't work the same way. That whether you were 5 years old or 55 years old, even though you would eat different amounts, if it filled you the same way, that like you would just keep digging in. Your kid's done with their manna, like, how do you still have any? Like, I don't know. I gathered my 2 quarts, I'm fine.
Oh, that's a good point.
And then the second is that, like, when you're socially outed if you've collected too much.
So true.
Because
your
it
house
smells
gets stanky.
bad. Yeah,
right.
You walk by it and somebody's tent like smells rancid, and you're like, "Hey, sweet job getting too much manna. That's great.
Thanks for making the whole neighborhood stink."
Pretty sure we're gonna be cursed because of you. Thank you. Hope the worms don't eat anything else in your house.
The earth can open over here.
Great, fantastic.
We haven't made a video in a while. We're full of words.
We are.
We got a lot to say
really
to you.
Good.
Okay, and then
the Schmitz are selfish. Smell their tent. Okay. After story time.
Then it's on to missions. So we are studying a missionary family who lives in Niger right now. So you're going to watch that video with the kids, and I will have the information printed up for you about that country, so you can kind of review all that with the children.
Do make sure this particular lesson and activity has the opportunity to have several missteps. We'll put it that way. It's really, really, really important, and I know we may laugh about it and approach it with some levity. We don't know what kids we're going to have from week to week.
It's true.
And what the ethnicity of our kids are going to be. We live in an area where, although it's predominantly Anglo, there are kids from all different ethnic and racial backgrounds.
Yeah.
We're watching stuff from, let's address the elephant in the room. The missionaries are from Niger.
Right.
That's where they are.
Right.
A mispronunciation of this word from a student could really hurt a student or a family that comes in. So make sure whether or not, however you need to safeguard this particular part, whether it's that you're pronouncing the word well ahead of the students trying to read it if they have to read it on something, or second, if whenever we get to the materials where we're talking about the family specifically, and there are, in each one of these lessons, there's some booklets and some things that you can read, make sure that all of your people are equipped and know ahead of time, this is what this word is, this is what country we're talking about. It is not for joking.
No, and honestly, no little kid wants to have that talk with me about them mispronouncing a word.
Right.
So we'll work with our teams to, as leaders, I'm expecting that all of us would work with our teams to be careful with our pronunciation. And if you need to avoid the name of the country and just call it a country in Africa, better to do that than to have a misstep with this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because it distracts from not just the purpose of the lesson, but from everything that we're doing as far as building kingdom. So
Absolutely.
That's an important thing.
So then once we're done talking about the missionaries, then we will line up and come on down to Big Church.
Ta-da! When we head into our Big Church setting, we do one song. We'll make the kids sit through the announcements, and then we have our Kids Corner. During our Kids Corner, I bring the kids up and I ask them a really simple question. What'd you learn about in Sunday school? Some of the kids have great answers to it. Some of the kids in our 8:30 service haven't been to the Sunday school yet, so we'll just talk through the lesson a little bit. And some of the kids in our 11 o'clock missed Sunday school and just came for the service because that's what their parents decided to do. And we've got families that are visiting that fall in that same boat. So we'll ask the kids that were in Sunday school typically come up with some phenomenal answers. And past that, what we'll do is we'll ask some questions that are specific to the story about, why were the Israelites complaining? How did God answer their complaints? What does manna mean? And then that can spark all kinds of different questions and things of that nature. I'll pray for the kids, and then as we stand up and greet one another in the Big Church, Esther will take our kiddos down, and you guys will go to Children's Church.
Yeah. So once we get back down the hall, we are going to play another game. And I didn't have any oven mitts right now. Otherwise, I would blindfold you. Oh, I didn't even think creatively. So what'll happen is we'll have a pair of oven mitts, and a child will put them on, and then we will blindfold them with a little handkerchief and hand them an object. And they have to try to identify what the object is.
Through oven mitts?
It's true.
Ooh.
We're hardcore.
Yeah.
So that'll be the game that we play. We'll rotate through and give lots of people a turn. Again, that's for the same reason. And we've got of regathering their attention and getting them to focus in on the teacher's voice. And since you've got new kids joining us at this stage, it's important just to orient everybody that way.
Yeah.
And then, so once we have got our kids circled up and we've played our oven mitts game, then we will go into our story time. So during Big Church, we watch the video, which is two components. The first one is an animated version of the story. It is using almost exactly these words. Lifeway has done a really cute job of letting the narrator for the story take just a little bit of liberty. So where I had a little like jokey commentary, they might do that same thing.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of fun. And then we go straight from that video into the dramatic videos about Mooseberry Academy.
Oh, with Alexandria.
That's the one.
That might be out for a week, but that name stuck with me.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
So currently, we have a student who has been hiding in the tunnels under the school that don't exist for like 5 years, surviving on pickles. He's been eating a lot of pickles.
Well, I know several people that would have just died if that was their own way of nourishment.
They were going to lure him out with like a ham sandwich and something that went perfectly with pickles.
Just a ham sandwich with some mustard on it?
Something like that,
okay.
Yes. But he presented anyway, so.
Well, there you go.
But anyway, we'll see what's going on with that student. There was this mean girl who showed up, and she's been trying to take over the school, and that kid emerged from the tunnels, and he's going to help.
Help her take over the school?
No, I'm sorry. I was not clear, friends. He's going to help.
Sounds like the hermit warrior is coming up.
It's perfect, right? Discommunication.
Yeah,
You're fine.
For sure.
So
Rachel McAdams and the Tunnel Rats are going to take over the schools.
So this kid showed up, and he's going to help the other kids stand against her.
Gotcha.
That's what I meant. So we'll watch the video, and everyone will have a much better idea of what's going on.
Fantastic.
And then we'll divide up into small groups. So we divide up into different organized groups based on the kids that we have that day. Sometimes it's boys boys versus girls, older, younger. Do what you need to with your kids that day. So one group is going to be going off to game time. And the game that we're going to play is needs versus wants. So each kid is going to have a blue card and a yellow card. A blue is something you need, like water, okay? A gold card is something you want, like a sunny day.
I need a sunny day. I want an Xbox.
Oh.
Yeah? What about that? No, those are both wants.
So the leader of the game time is going to call out something. Beach vacation. And the kids have to vote whether that's a need or a want.
Want.
That's a want.
I want a beach vacation.
Yeah.
I prefer the mountains, but I'll take the beach.
Same.
You
What's another one? You want to say one? I don't have to run all the games. You already lost to me at the straw game, so.
What was that? Our producer's got something to say. Say it again.
Lamborghini.
Lamborghini.
Want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ironically, the producer is also probably going to be running this game.
Yay!
So-
That's awesome.
Practice.
Yeah.
So that will be the game
Lamborghini.
time.
What is it?
Oh, it's blue. My sister hit me. Okay, and then craft time
Right.
is going to be making this clock, which says
God cares for me all the time.
all the time. So whether it's
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock or 4:03.
God still cares for you. That's important.
So even if we feel like we don't have everything we want, God still knows what we need, and He's meeting those needs.
That's awesome.
And then, just for funsies, sometimes there's a big game situation in our pack,
Right.
and this one looked kind of cool. So sometimes they look a little too complicated for the group of kids that we have, but we will probably use this just as like a time filler for kids who want to.
Sure.
After we're done with our groups. So what'll happen is we are going to use nickels and pennies from our offering bucket.
Okay.
So we'll have 2 teams, and each team gets 3 of their coin. So they set out their coins on any stars they want to, and then each turn they get to scoot along the pattern. 1 coin, 1 scoot. Their goal is to get 3 of their coins in a row.
Oh.
So this will probably be something that's fun for the older children, but it's kind of a cool game. So we're going to pull that out and see if anybody's interested in playing that.
That's kind of cool.
We do always like to have children involved in some kind of an activity when their parents come to pick them up. I feel like that's a really important indicator to parents that their children have been doing something productive.
Yeah. And that we've programmed the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's not just babysitting. We're actually doing work that is eternal while they're having their needs met as well. So when we have kids picked up, they're going to remember to take their craft, and we always give them an age-appropriate tear-off sheet.
And these are, like Esther said, there's different activities for each one. I think that one's got it slightly different than this does on the front and on the back. It does have the Bible story on it, as well as starts with our weekly verse, which is Psalm 78:24. The other cool thing about this, if you're looking at the winter packet for the first time, is there is an app that is a companion piece to this. The Bible Studies for Life Kids Family app. And that is a huge mouthful, but it's developed by Lifeway. So if you look up Lifeway at the App Store, whether it's Google Play or Apple, you can find that app, download it, and it's got some cool things that will help you throughout the week so that you continue to reiterate the lesson that's been learned. That's been a fun thing that we've kind of figured out about here in the recent weeks that's been fun to play with and talk to the kids about.
And then finally, we always want to be sure every week that we give a very clear presentation of the gospel.
Absolutely.
And in our church, we use the ABC format, which stands for admit, believe, and choose. You can use choose or confess, whichever is easier. CH is not obviously a C sound,
This is true.
but they don't always get what confess means. So
Yeah.
flex it for your group. But I always take time each week to explain the gospel. You're going to be surprised by how many times you'll have a kid come to you afterward and go, I didn't really understand it until today. So even if you're looking at the same faces week after week, keep going over the information. It's important, and you never know when their little hearts are going to be open and their minds will be ready.
That's exactly right. Well, I think that about does it for this week for us. We hope you guys do well. We're praying for you. We love you. And God bless.